H-2A workers directly by the administration, the wages were dropped. So this year, the minimum wage for H-2A workers in North Carolina was $16.16. Next year, it goes down to $12.69. And yes, and for next year, the growers will actually be allowed to deduct rent from workers. And so if any of you have gone to a housing, a labor camp, and have seen the conditions that they live, imagine getting $1.69 deducted off of your pay to live in labor camps. So we did a lot of education on that. There's a lot of insecurity for workers as to whether it's worthwhile to come back or not next year. There's a lot of questions. We're gonna be in Mexico for 2 weeks in February, doing some follow-up and preparing workers for whatever actions they want to make. There's workers that are saying, we're gonna come and test the waters, right? We're gonna do the easy stuff. Planting and cropping the flower off the tobacco, we'll do that for $11. We're not gonna harvest the tobacco for $11 an hour. So we wanna prepare workers so that once the harvest hits, they can confront the grower and say, either you fix this or we're going back to Mexico. Because there's workers that are willing to do that. Barnes Farm, again, if y'all remember in 2023, there was a worker that passed away due to heat exhaustion at Farm Pack, which is owned by a state senator, Lisa Barnes. Well, in this year, a worker was run over by a sweet potato truck, and he passed away at the same farm. And so the family is being represented by an attorney, but this should not be happening, right? When the first worker passed away, Lisa Barnes had been fined $197,000, but then magically the fine went down to $3,000, and then a year later something bad happens again. So there's workers preparing and organizing around those issues. We had a worker who was his first year here. He arrived on Thursday. He went to work Friday. He went to work Monday. And on Tuesday in the morning, he passed out because there was no water in the field. He was in a coma for 3 weeks in Winston-Salem. And when he woke up, he had permanent brain damage, right? During those 3 weeks, his father and his brother were taking turns being at the hospital with him. When he woke up, the grower fired all 3 of them. And so he went back to Mexico without getting the proper medical attention. We are doing a complaint and they are being represented, but those are the types of things that we saw this year that were very hard. The H-2A program is ridden with discrimination, and so out of like 19,000 workers that come here on H-2A visas, only about 1% of them are women, probably less. But we had 3 women, again, at Farm Pack that were working, grading sweet potatoes, but we're seeing discrimination, right? Because they weren't giving in to the sexual requests that the supervisor was asking for, they were getting the difficult jobs. And so Imelda filed a complaint, and she got other coworkers to file complaints, and they were fired. 3 of them, 3 people were fired for complaining, and they filed a complaint and they settled with the grower, and they got some back wages. So a lot of that money that's there is back wages that those women were able to recuperate. So we had some successes.